The circuits glow, the future's here, it steals the show. Machines are dancing, woo! So slide, while I'm just grooving, reaching high, oh my. The world's upside down, ooh yeah, tech's got the crowd. AI's spinning, turning, oh so wild. But I just wanna dance and smile. Romance in the rhythm, love in the groove. Let the world flip, I've got moves to prove. Robots rule, they write the news. Algorithms picking on my shoes. But baby, come close, feel the beat. Let's turn this disco into heat. So sweet, the codes may hub, oh, but here we come. Ooh, yeah, I'm spinning, turning, oh so wild. But I just wanna dance and smile. Romance in the rhythm, love in the groove. Let the world flip, I've got moves to prove.
Oh, we jumped up. Hold on. We're not ready yet. I'm still working on stuff. Still setting up. I think we're,
You're scaring me, Al.
it's all right. It happens.
Luckily, my fingers weren't in any parts of my face.
That's right. That's right. You weren't doing any personal grooming. Okay. And Instagram. Let's see if that's gone live right now. Okay, good. Now I can start getting ready. And Substack is up and running. And there we go. And then Restream, all the channels seem to be going. I always have to reload the Restream page because it thinks it says offline until you reset it, and then all the channels are working. Oh, Lisa, thank you, gifting the memberships right out of the gate. That's incredible and wonderful and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like we got to jump straight in. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I so rudely and inappropriately dragged our dear friend Rob Glenn into, get out of here, you silly thing. There we go. Into the show too early. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Glenn joining us. Oh, you know it. And for Friday Eye and a bunch of stuff to cover. I've missed you for the last little bit.
Yeah, well, I think all my craziness is done for a little while at least, so maybe we can string together a few in the row.
I hope so. I'm very excited about abnormalcy returning as we understand it.
Yeah.
For those of you at the Who's at Home and everybody in the chat room, that song you were hearing is something I made in Suno right before the show while I was doing other stuff. So I threw in some lyric ideas for a song about dancing while AI destroys the world, and it cranked out a few pieces of shit, and that was one of them. And it's all the more reason to kind of talk about the human in the loop part of AI, as it were, the human in the loop. Now, HIL, human in loop. They leave the "tuh" out in this particular case. Is it's something it's been around. I think as a phrase since nuclear silos became a thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Is that if
Makes
you
sense.
really if you want to think about the first time we really started hearing about humans in the loop, it was directly because we're up and I see the chat room. Excellent.
Was it around the War Games movie?
Yes, it was. Womp. Mr. McKittrick, after careful consideration, I have come to the determination that your new defense system sucks. And, right, one of my favorite lines, just, while other kids were doing acting like consonant and vowel exercises, like to sit in solemn silence in a dull dark dock with a pestilential prison and a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. Like that's the kind of mouth exercise you do as an actor. I'm convinced that most of those are because people are easily embarrassed. And one of the biggest parts of acting class is to be a complete asshole in front of other people. Be a tree, move around. Has nothing to do with you learning your body or anything. It's getting rid of all of your normal coolness inhibitions so that you can play a character that's not flattering at some point, because you'll always try to be flattering yourself unless you sound like a dick or look like an idiot sometimes, and you're okay with that. And so they eliminate. But I would always pick lines from movies. You know, my first monologue for acting class at New Trier, when you had to audition with a monologue to get into one of the advanced placement acting classes, was the end monologue from Rambo, from First Blood.
Oh, cool.
It wasn't my war. Come in.
No, that's my buzzer, and I don't know who's buzzing.
Uh-oh.
Nobody should be buzzing.
It's the deep state. it's the deep state. Anyways, and by the way, let's see if this works. No, I guess not. Okay, I have to switch that around. I always have to move it gets very confused about the windows. There we go. Look at that. Ta-da. Hi, chat room. I thought I'd bring in the chat room occasionally when we're talking in this instance, because it's hard to see it or whatever. And welcome you guys into this conversation as we talk about okay, so Trump, I think the big thing is Trump signed this AI action plan as a memo executive order, which is fucking nothing. I mean, ultimately, he's done two things on AI primarily. One is he undid Biden's executive order on AI safety. And then this one is just kind of like, it might as well be set to the Battle Hymn of the Republic and sung as a song, because it's just... America must and can and will lead in AI, because AI is a thing that everybody's talking about, and all that kind of shit, right?
Yeah, the only way to regulate AI right now is through law, and that has to go through Congress. So anything he writes as an executive order is just all blather. It doesn't.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. So it's a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter on top of something that's not regulated currently.
Right, exactly. and that most of the people, even the people involved in it, don't know how it works. Like that's the other aspect. I mean, in general, and I have evidence to that. I think in the beginning they knew. Everybody involved in it knew. Everybody kind of generally, the only people involved in it were the people who directly designed the initial AlphaGo kind of stuff, or the large language models. And then they started bringing on feature people and marketing people and all that kind of stuff, and sales people and user interface people to try and make up ways to use it for everybody, which we are going to talk about this morning. Because I fixed something. It made me a better handyman this week, which I didn't think was possible because I'm pretty damn handy.
Using ChatGPT?
Yep, and it's picture ability. Its ability to take a picture. And
I myself think that is the most powerful thing, and I've been using pictures or screenshots or something, like some version of a picture, to drive it. And I think it's an underutilized, advertised ability. It's extremely powerful, and it takes a little bit of a paradigm shift in your thinking to start using it that way. But it's really good at recognizing things.
So we had an issue. Our InSinkerator died, on its normal lifespan, and so we had a plumber come in and fix it, and our water pressure sucked. And I was like, hey, while you're at it, why don't you take a look at it? And so he did, and he's like, oh yeah, your pressure regulator valve is old and faulty and shitty, and you need a new one, and it's very expensive, and I happen to have one in my truck. As you do.
and it only has a 500% delivery charge.
Yeah, exactly, right. Even though all I have to do is walk out to the truck and get it, and it's a part you could probably buy from,
on
Home
Amazon.
Depot. Yeah, exactly, totally. And I was like, okay, I get, one of those situations where, you don't really have an option in that moment. You're like, well, if it's going to cost that much, no matter who does it, whatever. Okay, so the guy installs a new one, fine. It's the other one would only be about 5 or 6 years old, which seems a little ridiculous, but maybe calcification, maybe whatever. So I took his word for it. And then the water pressure in the house progressively got worse. Now I have an option in this situation. I have an in case of emergency break glass option. I have actually two of them. Summer's mother's husband is a plumber and knows what he's doing. So we could fly him out and install, if we want a water softener, that's what we've been talking about for a long time. We buy it and he'll put it in for us because whatever. And the other one is our dear friend Boston Brian, who has retired from, being, the plumber on call for everyone and has moved into his real talent, his universal talent, which is speaking online and being an advocate for all things good and happy and wonderful. He'll be in the second hour. And
I didn't know that he moved to California. He texted me like a couple of weeks ago and saying he moved, and I didn't even know.
Oh, it's huge, yeah. And I can't wait to hang out with him, and we definitely will. But I probably could call him and ask him about it, but I would feel like an asshole because he has now moved past that, because he's not doing that anymore. He's doing his other thing.
I would bet that if you asked him now, he would say, no, I would like you to call me because I would like to help you.
I totally agree. This is not his hang up. It is 100% mine. So but at the same time, I was like, because Rob Glenn's coming back on Friday. I was like, wait a second. Maybe I have a use case here that could be either useful or a cautionary tale. Right. It could be one of those things where like, oh shit, it works, or oh shit,
my house is flooded.
Right? Yeah. So I was like, I explained the problem to it. I literally was like, I explained it to Teddy. I was like, look, we just had this thing fixed. The water pressure has continuously gone down. We don't have a leak anywhere. I know that's not the case. They installed a new pressure valve, and could that be the problem? And it was like, absolutely, it could be the problem. Here's what you want to look for. Go get a water gauge, stick it on a hose thing outside, check what your water pressure is. And if it's below, if you have a house with so many bedrooms, it should have 50 PSI minimum and whatever. Mine was like 40. I'm like, this sucks. And so it was like, what you need to do is loosen the internal nut and tighten the bolt a quarter turn at a time, preferably with a faucet going on upstairs. And I was FaceTiming with Summer, and I was like, let me know if the pressure gets better as I'm doing this. And it was a full like 1 1/4 turn off. It was so goddamn. It was set terribly. It wasn't set at all. I think he just stuck the fucker on there, and
that makes sense.
And it came loose on its own because he didn't tighten it down. And the internal one you have to tighten down so that, once you set that, you tighten down this nut and it holds, right? And it was very well explained. It was like if I had a manual for the thing that could talk, essentially. Yeah. And so I was like, tick, 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 like that. And I went upstairs, checked all her stuff. It says, in a couple days, that was 2 days ago. So today, later on, I'm going to check the pressure on the thing outside again, just to make sure. Maybe even raise it up a smidge. But it was incredibly useful. And considering what it fucking cost me to pay that dude when he came here and added that thing on, and we were kind of like over a barrel about it, the fact that I could just ask and do it myself, like I said, because I know how to operate a wrench, I was like it was, Pops says you may have a bad ballast. It wasn't that. It was simply the new thing was not set at all. Once I set it, it's fine. And it was like, yep, it's probably, even ChatGPT was like, yeah, it's probably that, because it sounded like somebody in customer service. It sounded like, how we have customer service AI bots now, and they're pretty realistic. They can listen and stuff, instead of I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Can you enter your social security again by saying it out loud in this room full of strangers? Right. That whole thing. Right. And, which is the most annoying. Anyway. So, I was like, it's way better now. They're very, very fluid and personal and that kind of stuff. And this one specifically, I was like, if it doesn't work, or if it's giving me an answer that I think is stupid or completely off base, I just won't act on it. I'll just call the fucking plumber. But if it looks like something I'm within my locus of control, I'm going to act on it. And I did, and it worked fucking great.
Yeah. I think that in this case study, the things that I've been learning about, and I talk to people about if I'm trying to teach how to use stuff, is vocabulary is incredibly important. for chat bots. And so one of the things, if you don't know anything about a subject, one way to communicate with a chatbot is to actually ask it what the vocabulary is before you start asking it the questions. So as a, for instance, whatever this valve was called or the whatever you had changed out, like trying to explain things in rough terms is a starting point. But you want to use the chatbot to actually also help you learn what the right terms are for the things that are facing you or that are in front of you. And once you get those terms right, it's more laser focused on giving you answers that are within the realm of what you're talking about, within the domain of what you're talking about. And so that's the key, is like almost like learning how to communicate a little bit differently, in the sense that, like the thing that sort of focuses it in the right place is using the right words, because it is a large language model. It's entirely based on words and the connection of words around subjects, right? So, so that's it's an interesting thing. And part of the process of fixing something like you're talking about is actually learning what it is you're looking at and trying to figure out how to verbalize what it is you're looking at. Or in your case, you mentioned using pictures. Did you actually upload a picture?
Yes, I did.
And did it recognize? It said, "Yep, that's the picture." What was going on?
That's your your FPV, or whatever your functioning pressure valve or whatever it's called. And it was like, that's what that. Because I was looking at one thing, and the label on it. And this was the curious thing for me. The label on it, it seemed like it was a backflow valve.
Okay.
Which is not the same thing technically, or maybe it is, but either way, it sounds like two fully different elements. And it may be that it has both things on it, that it contains a backflow thing in it or whatever. But the label on it, like if you just read the label, you'd go, "Oh, this is not a pressure valve, this is a backflow thing." Are you guys excited about this? As excited as I am, because you want to talk about my fucking plumbing in my house. But if I'd have just looked at it, I'd gone, "Oh, that's not this." And I would have looked all over the place on my plumbing throughout the house or wherever it's connected to try and find that fucking thing. And I just took a picture and I was like, "Yeah, that's what that is."
I mean, it's important because I think the usefulness of AI to most people as it exists today, AI as an LLM and chatbots and these things, it's in like getting to answers quicker. It's in the idea of like getting to the right answer quicker, as opposed to, before Google, you would have to go to the library and teach yourself all about plumbing and codes and all that stuff, and maybe look at catalogs of companies that made these valves. Now, when Google came in, it would be like, I don't know, finding the valve, the model number of the valve, because it's a more of like a search that you want specific names and numbers and things.
Right.
And then from there, you're like broadening out your search to try to figure out if any plumber on some forum said something about your problem, right? And you're just reading and reading and reading, and hopefully maybe someone else had that problem, and hopefully maybe you find that forum, right?
Right.
With an LLM, it's sort of taken in all those forums, and you're laser focused at it giving you a summary of that specific thing because you've used its technology different, right?
And so
getting to answers faster,
right? And the how you talk to it matters. And so there was in the early part of this. In the early parts of AI, one of the reasons why it sucked out of the gate, even as good as like the scientists and the people who work with it would come out and go, "This is fucking amazing," and then people would type in a one sentence thing asking for a picture, and it would go, "This sucks ass," because you weren't giving it enough detail to explain what you wanted. And the scientists, when they do it, were flooding it with detail, because that's all they fucking do is they just overdo it. They nerd out like you and I do. And so I use it, I'm fine. Other people use it like, I don't know, this is going to be clunky crap. It's just nonsense, right? It's like giving someone, your handwritten notes. It reminds me of the Lenny Bruce performance video where he's talking about how they gave the transcript of his stand-up to the jury that was taken by the police officer who's standing in the back, who's supposed to write it down, and he's like, what'd he say? And he missed 50 words because he's like trying to listen and write and transcribing it live. He didn't record it. He was just doing it as he was listening. And then when he finally reads it to the court, he goes, you can use your notes to recollection, but to the best of your knowledge, this is what's in it. Yes, Your Honor. Now, I'm not going to get any laughs now, but this is fuck and shit and cocksucker and shit and queer and ass and shit. That's basically it, Your Honor. So that, like, you'll never get his show from that prompt. That was that was a reverse prompting from that thing. This is what the cop did. The same thing is kind of true, is that a lot of people are putting shit into their prompts, and then they're getting shit back, and they're like, this thing's terrible. And you have to be a lot more specific with it, at least in the beginning. Now it can remember what you're talking about. So it's easier for it to catch up. But and a lot of people are just nervous about, letting it remember stuff, which I totally get. So if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna, keep it ignorant, you're gonna have to be more specific every time. It's like you're dealing with Memento. You're dealing with the guy in Memento who's you're not even giving him a tattoo needle where he can go, Rob Glenn killed your wife, find him, right?
So I actually give a lot of things nicknames, like specifically, like if I'm doing something where I need to reference a certain computer in my office, I give the computer a nickname, and then I always refer to it as that nickname. And there's a little bit of like a wall between, if you don't know the exact address of it or the exact name of it, like that makes it harder. But then the other thing I do is I tell it what it is, and then I wait a couple of prompts, and then I'll ask it, do you know what this thing is? And if it tells me back the correct answer, then I know it's sort of quote unquote in its memory. Right. So it's kind of like your kids, right? Like you teach them something, and then you ask them to repeat it back to you, or you like ask them questions to help you figure out if they know what the subject is, right? It's kind of like that. And that's how you figure out if it remembered or not.
Yes.
And usually, the ones that I use are pretty good at that.
Right. And obviously I'm, there are different trust levels with different companies. So I have no interest in giving permission or adding anything to Meta AI's information on me that it already doesn't have from having my Facebook page, right? They farmed everybody's data off of Meta because it was one sentence in the terms of service 2 fucking years ago, or even 5, who knows? So, when they knew they were going to build this business model 6 years ago, they added it in there. People like, AI, what the fuck is that, right? Nobody cared, right? And you certainly couldn't feed through your terms of service into an AI and go, is there anything hinky in this I should know about? Which, by the way, I highly recommend. One of the best use cases, or you want to talk about turning the tech giants on themselves, is if you ever are worried about the terms of service that you're signing, copy and paste them into an AI, a ChatGPT, even the free version of ChatGPT, and go, is there anything, I'm pretty privacy conscious about this. I don't want to give away any more personal information than I would have to for this to work. Is there anything I should be worried about in this? And it'll go, well, shit, yeah, there's this, and this, and this. You can live with it, or you can just not use it. And TikTok is a fucking, it lights up like fireworks when you put TikTok's TOS in Claude, especially, because it's like, holy shit, what? No, you can't turn on my microphone and my camera and turn off the light and the reference stuff to my camera and my microphone whenever you want through other apps. What? Right? So it's just lame. So anyways, well, what if you want to be filming yourself on your phone and you don't want it to look like you're filming yourself on your phone because the light is on, so you're streaming, so you don't want it to show that you're streaming, so your camera should be able to come on without you knowing your camera's on. Fuck that. Like, it's so bad. It's like it's so nice to be like reassured that all my worries about something were absolutely right. And one of the reasons I know that is because I fed their TOS into
TikTok
ChatGPT.
specifically, you mean?
Yes, right. So, but and the other one is Grok. Like, I'm not going to feed any extra information. If you're going to use something dumb, you would use Grok. Now, every time I've seen somebody talk about Grok online, it's a paid promo.
Right. Okay.
Very rarely do I see somebody, unless they're just kind of like, well, there's Claude and there's ChatGPT and there's this and then there's the Elon Musk's XAI's Grok, and blah blah blah, and they kind of throw it in there as an afterthought, and it's like, if you want something that'll Sieg Heil in your face while you're trying to look up history facts, and you'll go, well, there was a lot of Germans that were innocently killed during certain retaliatory strikes by the Allies. Like, yeah. But like with ChatGPT, I have memory turned on that, right? I have that. And then the other one is the downloaded personal one. So I've been working on this for a while. I'm not quite ready to like figure out how I want to like display it on screen on here without linking it up to another computer, because I like it being offline and not attached to Wi-Fi or anything. So I hardwire all the stuff into it, and then I take it completely offline to see if it will work on its own. And I'm like, at some point, I'm going to have to just hook in a monitor into this or something, and then everything will catch fire, and I will die. But like, all these isolated ones I'll let that thing remember a lot of stuff, because it'll come with instructions that if anybody opens it without me asking it, it can just fry itself, I guess, if I wanted to. It'd be easy enough to do. But I like... the reality of these things, the ability of these things to remember stuff or not remember stuff, is completely up to you. And it makes the prompting thing, the talking to it, either easier or safer. I think that's your trade-off. I think the trade-off is turn the memory. I mean, some of it's safe. Like, I'm not worried, like I said, and I'm very specific about what I would share at all. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah, when I think of safety, I think of it kind of like phishing emails. Like, just don't.
Yes.
If somebody asks you for a social security number, don't do it.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, like, I keep the memory on all the time, but I'm very like specific in how I confine what I'm talking about.
Right. And you can tell it to forget certain things, or you could go into its memory and erase a detail that it has about you. You can literally go and erase sections. There's a question come in that I think would fit right now. Great.
Templeton Zarad asked
both
of us, what LLM should an average user like moi use to get started? Just get myself ChatGPT account ? I personally use ChatGPT because I always have used it, and when we talk about this memory thing, that's important to me. Like, so just because I've been on it, it's important to me that I keep these like strings going for a long time. But ChatGPT is good. Google Gemini is quite good, but I'm not sure if it's quite as easily accessed. It's a little less user-friendly to me, but and then probably, and a lot of people use Claude. That's Anthropic. I just actually read a article about how it seems to me like how Microsoft and Apple sort of diverged, if you will, where Microsoft was a little bit more corporate and Apple was a little bit more consumer. It seems like Anthropic is kind of doing the same thing that Microsoft did. They seem to be more liked by corporations, and ChatGPT currently seems to be the most liked in consumer land. But in this particular genre, I think that there could be any number of new quick upstarts that take over that mantle in a way which is different than the early computer era, where the cost to entry was a lot more back then. Like taking out Microsoft would be incredibly difficult just because the cost of entry is so huge, but that's different with AI. So at any rate,
Right.
to me, those are sort of the main three. I don't know if you
Okay,
have any
I would
others
say,
that you would
yeah,
throw in
if you're
there?
starting from scratch, I would suggest either ChatGPT or Gemini, because you're getting close to the same thing. The only difference is that Gemini has like video stuff built in, and some people already have like Google Plus or Pro or those kind of things, which will buy
Yeah, so
you.
it fits in with what you already have.
Yeah, and you're not going to pay $20 a month for ChatGPT in this situation when you kind of already get it with Google built into your system. That would be the only difference if you're starting from scratch and you have a Gmail account or you use Google Drive or any of those things, because you can
Yeah, that's
integrate
true.
all those things. So, and on a consumer level, those are the two: ChatGPT or Google Gemini. And I would argue that they've got positives, they got pluses and negatives on both.
Yes.
I would argue that ChatGPT, true to its name, is much better conversationally. Is much better. Also, let me show you something real quick if I can. I'm going to download this and then I'm going to open it up. Boink.
Yeah,
This.
and just sort of add on to your point there.
Yeah.
Like they're so close to each other. Like if you're starting out, it doesn't, like, you don't have to have the choices be a stopping point. Just pick one and go,
Right.
and you'll be close enough. Like you're going to be wowed by any of them.
Yes.
It's
Unless
just
you
more
have
about
a very
how.
specific job. Hold on one second. I'll show you something real quick.
Yes, exactly. Like if you're doing it specifically to code, there might be better choices than, that. But I like the way you explain it, how it integrates into your. So if you just have a Apple device and it's easier to turn on Apple's AI, if you have a Android, if you have some software that has it integrated, just pick that one and go.
Well, and in that case, also, I just made that video while we were talking, while you were explaining something. I just wanted to point out I did that in Gemini. Gemini has a video aspect of it that is really pretty good right out of the gate. I didn't say much. I just said a 60s style spaceship flies across the screen and goes into orbit around the moon. It enters orbit around the moon. And this is what it came up with. And I could be more specific about it or whatever, but it is very like retro, 60s style, whatever. But the moon looks fucking dead on. Like, that's amazing. And it's pretty, it's making sense that it's not having huge thrust coming out. It's just a little bit because it's slowing into whatever. You can make decisions about it or whatever. This is using VO, which is the video thing on Gemini. This is Google's image gen thing. And it is pretty extraordinary, especially. And this is just the low end one. This is like VO1. VO3 you have to pay for. But considering what's available, there's a lot you can do with just this stuff, and then you take it in and you go take the trick is on a lot of these things. A lot of these things have an issue with, well, it can only do 8 seconds or 10 seconds. And like, what the fuck is that for? And I've run into that a bunch. The trick is, and it seems to be the easiest way, is grab the final frame of this in QuickTime, export it as a frame, and use it as the starting frame on a new video and go, starting here, this ship tumbles and crashes into the moon, and then the moon turns, is a giant hunk of cheese and falls apart. And then you make a few of those till you get one you like, and then you grab the final frame of that one, and then on and on and on and on. And this is not, compared to like stop animation, it's way fucking easier than that, right? So there's a lot you can do using, and what I'm exploring, and I have my girlfriend's son is a videographer. He does a lot of sports videography and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to have him shoot something for me that's sort of a test where we're going to do like a mini superhero short. And I want to see what's available as far as the technology, as far as taking real footage of me, creating backgrounds and environmental stuff using AI, but a real human performance. Right?
Like you're driving avatar, basically. Like you drive it with yourself. Yeah.
Well, except though, I want actual film of my performance. I don't want an AI version of my face or another character. I don't want it smoothed out. I want it to look like I want it to be the actual performance that an actor would give. And then the environment or the clothing, those kind of things you could change after the fact. I want to see how far we can kind of push that and how, how complicated it would be or whatever. So I've got to shoot all the footage for what would be the scenes of it.
Sorry.
Easy. and use the technique that I'm talking about for like the secondary shots and that kind of stuff, and see how much it can read. So in that process, the fact that this is already as silly as that little video I just made is, with very little instruction. And by the way, this is let's see if I can move this down. This is what I put in. A retro 60s style spaceship flies across the screen. It moves into orbit around the moon. Static shot, no camera movement. Now, it failed at that. It did move the camera with the ship. I wanted it to stay still for obvious reasons. In that I can put that camera move in later, but I also want to be able to use it in the background of this so that it doesn't look like my ship's moving around, right? So it's that kind of thing. So there's little things like if I'm making silly things for my show just to practice, this is what I need it to do. And it will fail at it until you get very specific, okay? But this is Gemini. I did this in Gemini in a couple of seconds. And for all practical purposes, that's what most people would need. Right? This is the Rob Glenn 99% rule. 99% of people won't need more than that. Now, before we get
the thing that you accomplished is so far beyond what you could accomplish otherwise.
Yes.
And then, but what typically happens is now you made that and you're like, well, if it only was a little different, and that's where you kind of get caught into a cul-de-sac of like, it's not exactly what I wanted it to be. Yeah. And probably right now, the best way to deal with AI is just let it be what it is. Right. Because there is a limit to how much you can take control of it. And, it's kind of like just if you're trying to do something, just do it.
It's like working with a team member. It's like working with a team member on any creative project you would do. There's a huge aspect of that we all have to deal with when you ask someone to do something for you, a task, and you bring another artist in on it. You're going to get their interpretation unless you hand tool it yourself. That's always a factor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Chris B says an actual human artist would not fail at your request. Here's what I would say, though.
No, that happens all the time.
Yes, A, of course they would. And B, I wouldn't even call it a fail. They would put themselves into it. Exactly. And sometimes, because the artist's vision is stronger than perhaps yours is, their imprint on it will be stronger than yours. And if you have a very specific idea, even like using something like I just did, to tweak it to the point of, you get the general idea of what I'm talking about here. This is like the schematic version of it, but not the full art. And then you could give that to your, to somebody in your, the artist you're working with, and go, here's what I'm building on. And they go, okay, give me the 3D model of that, and I will add onto that. I will perfect that part of it, right? And there's a lot of, yeah, and it's any designers or creatives, I can highly recommend getting a month of free pick. It's most models running in-house, and it's great to experiment. VJ Kodak says, there's a lot of people using it to make models of things, and then you can build on top of that, or you could just see it and go, oh no, mine would look like this, and build your own, which is how most art is made in most cases anyways, from cave drawings till now. There's a reason why most cave drawings look alike. Because somebody drew the first one that people liked, and then everybody drew like that for a long time, right? Hieroglyphs, arguably, are a cul-de-sac of artwork communication. Languages become that. Like, all right, everybody simmer down. We need one word for soup, or this is getting crazy, right? That's how all this stuff works until somebody comes along with a better, way of describing it that fits changes that have occurred in society or in time, right? So it's still up to you. It's still art in that regard, even if it's just like, I like that kind of stuff for inspiration's sake.
All things creative or all things that you create, like on just an individual level, if you have a vision of creating something, the limit to the creation is going to be your ability to create it, right? Right. So then so even inside your own head, it's improbable that someone who wasn't trained or hadn't been practicing for a long time might be able to produce what was in your head, right? So then the next step is you go ask somebody else to do it for you. And then at that point, it becomes a communication problem, right? Like you're trying to communicate to that person what you want, and then that person's going to hear what you had to say and translate it into what they think. And then they have their own technical limitations. And so the only way to finally get exactly what you want is to combine the perfect amount of communication with someone who's technically capable of producing it and getting them to actually produce it, right? And so inside of that model, I mean, there's millions of alterations and mistakes and miscommunications and stuff like that. So this conversation that you're having with AI is not really much different than that.
Yeah. And I, again, it's always, this is the human in the loop part that I think nobody really wants to move out. And this is one of the reasons why, like, robo-taxis are going to be a thing, but autonomous driving cars aren't, for all practical purposes, right? There is a key difference in both of these things. And the primary being is that if I'm in a cab, the other person is driving it. It's not about me. Whether that's a machine or a human being is less important, in terms of my experience of being in that vehicle, unless I love chit-chatting with a human being, which I do. It's less important to it. But the idea that people want to buy a car that, that they just go sit in and it takes them where they tell it to, and there's no autonomy, there's no independence in it. It's like a codependent vehicle. I don't think the interest is not there. Now, does that mean most people will eventually move to an autonomous vehicle that can have people drive for them? Is that a possibility? Absolutely. But there will always be a giant section of the populace that wants to be in the driver's seat, that wants that. And so that will be a regular part of it. And this is true of AI as well. And I think one of the things that was curious is, like, I was watching my son occasionally plays Roblox, and I don't know if you're familiar. People out there are familiar with
absolutely.
Roblox. This is a whole fucking sub economy of Roblox, and it's crazy. And there's all but one of the things about Roblox is it's kind of like Legos or Minecrafty looking stuff, but they rip everything off. So people make games you can play on there, but are these like kind of Legos almost versions of Call of Duty or whatever. And so one of the things they made was a ripoff of Squid Game, where you're playing with a bunch of other people. It's a group game, and you're playing with characters on there, but it's the games from Squid Game. And my kid hadn't seen Squid Game. He didn't know what it was in reference to. He just knew the game from Roblox or whatever. And then, watching YouTube videos or hearing people talk about it online, or while he was playing it, like, you haven't actually seen it? Like that. He wanted to look at it. So we watched part of it. And I would say that what we started talking about was he started having an idea for what kind of game he would base off of this thing, and like how his mind started working on the problem of making this entertaining and whatever, where you get to pick all these things that you can do. And I'm like, well, that's because you're creative. And this is an active form of entertainment for you. It is not the same. Most entertainment is passive. It is meant to be passive. It is valuable because it's passive. Watching a movie, watching a television show, listening to a piece of music. Not everybody wants to make the stuff all the time. It's why choose your own adventure books never really took off in a major way. Because the vast majority of people don't want to go, I don't know, left, or should it go through this door or that door? It's a little stupid. It's like why games didn't go the way of Dragon Slayer. The way if you want to actively play it, you want to play everything. But you don't want to go, I'll go that way. I'll go that way. I'll go forward. I'll go back. I'll go that way and then that way. And then, like, it's just stupid. Like, it takes this passive thing and makes it annoyingly active. I failed at adventure books in D&D. Yeah, because, D&D is, again, they tried to make adventure books, like choose your own adventure books from D&D, and they didn't take off because there's a social aspect of it. When you play that game, you're playing with everybody. It's like, It's like writing a fucking Monopoly book. Like you play Monopoly by, it's like Art of the Deal, Choose Your Own Adventure, the Monopoly book where should I buy this property? Fuck, it's burned down, whatever, like those kind of things. That's more fun if you're playing with other people. The idea that you would do it alone is it feels pitiful. It's just not interesting. And it's antisocial, if anything. And if you do want to play it,
that's a community game. It's about getting together with other people.
Exactly. And I think that's true of a lot, even of like, that's why sitcoms have a laugh track. It's not because you don't know where to laugh. It's because there's a communal aspect that we like to sit around and watch something funny and we laugh together. But if you're by yourself, it feels weird and, and oddly missing. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's why, single camera comedy. So I just want to finish up on this, that a lot of these kind of like the AI aspect of things, especially of art and those kind of things, there are going to be people like me who take all the tools that are out there and use it to make passive art for other people, art that they can enjoy, that they don't have to interact with, because there's value in telling a story, telling a myth, telling, showing an experience, giving people that understanding, but that they can stiff arm for a little while. There's a difference between like how into it's not a lifestyle, it's a fucking movie. I just want to watch the movie. I'll decide later if I want to go to Comic-Con, but I don't want to have to put on a fucking, superhero outfit and stand here like a dickhead and decide if I like the movie or not. And that's what is being asked of people in a lot of this kind of generative stuff. And I think that's largely why a lot of it's not going to take off. People who are creative and want to do that, designers like you, are going to want to use all these tools to refine what you're doing and make it better. But the other people are going to get on with their lives. This is something they do after work, or they watch with other people, or they enjoy, right? So that's right. That's a key to it that I think people miss in this, that they think it's just going to fill it in. And I think the people who create it are not necessarily creative. They don't use these tools themselves. So they didn't start getting good. Runway and these other things didn't start getting good until studios started trying to use them and going,
they collaborated with the users.
That's
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
There are 3 questions in my thing here.
Great. Yes.
This is Sean Romanko. He asked, what happens if you curse a blue streak at ChatGPT? So that's interesting. I call that personas. So if you swear every other word and that you type that in, it's possible it might not swear back at you, but if you tell it to take on the persona of, or to answer you like you talk to it, or take on the persona of a person, an actual person who swears a lot, it will do it. And if it still doesn't do it because there's some protections, you basically just kind of tell it, well, we're going to be in a fictional world right now, and we're talking as if we're in a story. Like you just change the perspective or the domain, and you will eventually get it to do it if for some reason it's not doing it. But in almost all cases, it's valuable if you tell in your prompt, if you define the persona you're either asking it from, or you want it answered to you back. So you can ask for brevity, you can ask for tone, like you can tell it what you want it to do. And
be sassy, be business-like, be whatever. You can.
And then somebody, VJ Kodak, you mentioned this before, and at Hal Sparks, you should really get into Comfy UI. For most people listening to this, Comfy UI is way too much to deal with.
So I have Comfy UI.
It's very valuable.
Yes, I have Comfy UI installed on my other computer, not the one I live stream with.
Very briefly, Comfy UI is what's called a node-based editor, and nodes are like very difficult to understand, but it kind of looks like a flow chart, kind of, sort of.
Right.
But it's sort of like a visual way to code, and you're effectively like controlling the LLM with these like nodes that are connected. I don't want to go any further than that because it's probably a little crazy.
Yes.
And then there's one last one. Does ChatGPT help you organize your files? I actually have, yeah, it can, but it's not like directly that way. You can't connect it to your like folders on your computer and tell it to move it around and organize it. However, I've been using it to build my own organizational tools, and you can get it to do some crazy stuff.
Yeah. So one of the things, for example, the best example I would give is depending on I don't know what the PC version of this is, but in the Mac, it's called scripting. You can create scripts that are like, also Mac has shortcuts that will do certain things. And you can go like, make a smart folder that collects all my stuff in here. And then every time I hit the shortcut thing, update it to the newest stuff in my, like all my screenshots that I take, for example. I made a smart folder for that. And then I had it organize them, in different ways, like in size and all that kind of stuff and how old they are. So that if they're more than a month old or whatever, it puts them, in like a split line below it. So I know, kind of categorizes them by month. And you can create a shortcut or a script like that. One of the best ways that like ChatGPT and Claude is really good at this, because Claude is really one that's focused on coding, is you can ask it like, hey, make me an Apple script that does this. I don't know how to program Apple scripts, but this is what I want to accomplish. And then it will make one, and then you download it, and then you open it and assign it to a button on your Elgato Stream Deck or a function key or something like that, or something you can double click, and it will activate that script whenever you double click it or whatever. And you can have it run automatically if you wanted. You could have a script that's just running in the background all the time. Those things are incredibly valuable.
What you're describing can also be done. It's like you're using ChatGPT as a translator to go from your idea to the code, if you will, that would do it. Where it would get really powerful is if you could say, find every picture where I look happy. And it's absolutely capable of doing that. Yeah. But you would have to allow access to all your pictures, and then you would have to pay for the processing of all the data. And I'm not sure if there's a consumer level thing you can buy to do something like that, but it's absolutely capable of doing it. And I'm certain that people have built them. And this is where you get into like how people productize its capabilities. And I have like I've always thought that file organization was really ripe for some paradigm shift that's not folders and files. And I don't know if it's ever going to come, because it's been a long time and we're still using folders and files. Right. But if there's going to be a paradigm shift, AI is capable of making that, or you could use AI to make a shift in terms of the UI of organizing things like that. Right. Yeah. One thing that I've been doing is I get all these like PDFs of like quotes, and then we have to send a PO for the quote, and then they send us a sales order when it ships, and it's just a bunch of paperwork. And I literally like upload, all I do is drag the PDF into the LLM, into ChatGPT's window. And it took about 5 or 6 prompts to get it to then kick me back an Excel spreadsheet that formats all the information into something I can copy paste into my own database. Right. And then once it did it the right way, I can literally just drag the thing in, and I don't even have to say anything. It knows well enough to just look at it and give me what I want. Now, if I could get it to then just actually me not have to copy paste it, that would be like the next step, right? So these are like these little like things where what you were talking about was translating your idea into code and then using code to make your computer do it. What I just described is a little different. It's literally, I didn't even need to write the code. I literally just had it convert it. And it's quite amazing at doing stuff that's image recognition and things like that. Right.
Like for me, and we're right up against it. I think our dear friend Boston Brian is going to be popping in here in just a second. But there are so many like available open source things that are popping up as well that are a big part of this, and that's what the Comfy UI thing is about as well. Is that you can download. And I have a couple of models that I've downloaded for image generation that I've been playing with to try and build my own referential image generation stuff so that I can make, copies of my own face and make my own graphics of my stuff, but without uploading it to a server that belonged to somebody else and maybe they'll reuse it later, those kind of things, so that I can just do it in-house. And so I'm downloading all this. Hi, Boston Brian. We'll get to you in just one second. He's singing in the background. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. But I... like there's those open source ones. I want to show something that's along those lines. It kind of goes in line with where you and I go. Where I always go with this. Where does the rubber hit the road? Yep, that's it. So there is an open source robot that is going to be brought to the market. They're shipping by October. And it is this company. Where is it? K-Scale Labs. I've shown these guys before on our thing, but this is from one of their gatherings. But they're working out of a garage in Palo Alto. But in doing that, they went from like zero nothing startup to they are going to be the only open source robot available, and their whole design system is already shipping. And you can 3D print the thing yourself if you want to just build it yourself. If you get the all that kind of stuff. So I'll show this real quick, and then we'll bring in this. This is him giving a talk at one of these places. But they've been making these guys. Their hands started out as like just a gripper. Now it's got articulated fingers, and it's been maybe 2 months. Like the speed of advancement is incredible. So this is the K-Bot. It's 5'4", something like that. It's insofar as its movability, they let you come in it's 4'5". I beg your pardon. You come in and
the robot.
Yeah.
The controllers.
So they're showing how it can stabilize itself and all that kind of stuff. But it has articulated hands. This guy. The whole thing, the full size, is $9,000. It's already assembled and all that kind of stuff. And the head has an Orin Nano, the Jensen Huang Special, the NVIDIA small computer board in the head. And if they ever upgrade it, you just take the head off, take the board out, put a new board in, pop the head back on, and it's all. You can self-modify. For hobbyists and stuff, it'll be super easy. And again, as easy as it was to fix my issue at home if you don't understand it, you could always look it up. That's it. This thing is, remember how Optimus was going to be under $30,000 and then it was going to be under $10,000? That was the story for the whole thing. These guys are putting one out that's $9,000 and it's open source. So you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. You can, if there's a better OS to run it, you just upload it in there. And if it's somebody you trust, instead of like buying the Metabot, now Zuckerberg's got like eyes and ears in your house. In this situation, it's localized to you. It is your AI. It is built on that, and you train it, and it doesn't require a subscription. It doesn't belong. You can use ChatGPT or one of these subscription services in it, but you don't have to. And that's so fucking fast. And this thing, they've already got it to the point where they are like teaching it to fold laundry and all that stuff. They have a sim in there that you could download the sim, their K-Bot sim area, and train it on the blueprints of your house before you ever get the fucking thing. So it will know how to walk and where everything is in your house. Just that. Okay, last thing. So then they're also making the Z-Bot. The K-Bot is the big one. The Z-Bot is like a little guy, and it's like maybe 2.5 feet tall. It's like a little walking bot kind of thing. But it does every articulation that the big one does. You can have one of these, train, practice, work on it, and they are already, I think you can see it there. They are already printing them to scale. They're 3D printing the bodies, they've got the gyros, they're slapping them together. And if you get one of these, one of the open source small ones, you can later get one of the open source big ones and put this guy, like all of its brains, in the big one.
Are they quoting a price for the little one?
I think it's 6. I think it's like 5,000 or something.
My opinion is, for a useful task, like if they, so the robot is the robot. It's when it gets sold, it's going to be sold as in terms of what it does. So it doesn't take very many, a couple, 2, 3 tasks that it can do around the house to make it worth $5 to $10 grand.
Yep.
I truly believe that. If you had somebody a robot that always cleaned your dishes, vacuumed, cleaned up, and folded your laundry, people would totally buy that for 10 grand and let it just run around. It'd be like, it's no different than a Roomba running around the house.
That's exactly right. It's a Roomba with arms. And by the way, there is a Roomba with an arm. I don't know if you've seen that, but the little thing that will pick up laundry and put it in a basket. I'm going to leave it at that, and we will talk more next time, because I get to have you next week. And then, of course, our dear friend Boston Brian's going to be on in a couple seconds. But you're awesome. And I have to, the next Chicago gathering for WCPT, you have to make that one. I know you could make the last one, but we're going to plan one this fall. Yeah.
If the date stays the same.
It will be a Saturday, no matter
I'll
what.
Commit.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Yeah. So, no, thank you, Hal. And I thank you, chat. And I can't see Boston Brian, but if he can hear me, say hi to him.
He can.
Thank you.
He can. He indeed can hear you.
Hi, Brian.
Yeah. And
I will see y'all later.
We will talk later. Okay, awesome. All right, there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'm going to swap out our dear friend Boston Brian. Will be here in a second. Let me change this. I got to do one thing. We hear him in the background. I'm very excited about that, especially because we're almost neighbors.
Somebody's going to tell Rob that new California number that's been texting him claiming to be Boston Brian is indeed Boston Brian.
That's right. He doesn't trust it at all. I completely understand. Okay, and then let me pop this in, and we will do that. And there he is. And ladies and gentlemen, where is this guy? Scroll. There he goes. Hey, it's Boston Brian. Look at that. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I feel like it's been a long time since I've been sitting on this show.
It's been far too long. And it's almost like, it's one of those things like the opposite of, it's kind of like if you want to stop playing pool, get a pool table. If you want to stop talking to somebody, have them move closer to you. You know?
Yeah, I thought I was going to have a bunch of time, and I've had everything but time. You know what I mean? I've been trying to set up the new shows and, figure out a new schedule here and try to get a routine down and trying to figure out how to make up for the financial loss, giving up plumbing to try to do this full time. So that's kind of been stressful, but
it's Barstow, Brian. All right, that's what they're saying in the class. And VJ Kodak says you can use WAN 2.1 with the pose replacements on that. Yes, that's what I've been looking into, VJ Kodak. We have to talk offline at some point. We got to figure that out. We're gonna set up a play date.
If I find out that you had Chat GPT and plumbing questions as opposed to calling me, I
felt bad. I felt bad. I didn't want to bother you with it. You've moved on. You're a big time streamer now. I don't want to bother you with it.
I would like nothing more, and I would enjoy nothing more than helping you out with some stuff that I indeed have knowledge about that you, sir, do not. So can I gloat a little bit?
That's right. The one area, where you've got me out. And if you ever need parquet flooring laid down at your old, that used to be my old job at all the Main Street department stores in the Chicagoland area. If you walk across their parquet flooring, there's a good chance yours truly laid down the glue and placed those tiles in,
somebody that spent a hell of a lot of time at the old Boston Garden. I am indeed a good judge of a good parquet floor.
Yes, absolutely. So, welcome. And you and I haven't talked since the whole Epstein thing broke on so many fronts, and I do mean broke. And I've got to tell you, I have been enjoying the shit out of all of this. I don't know about you, but I'm certain that I do know about you because I've seen your shows and clips too, but on a personal level, we haven't had a chance to talk about this. Ghislaine, by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell just got moved from a Florida prison to a Texas prison with the idea that he might pardon or commute her sentence. By the way, if he does, it's fucking over.
Right.
I'm just telling you, like, make my fucking day, dude. Like, pardon or commute her sentence. It will just be terrible. It, like, right when I thought it was starting where it was starting to die down a little bit, and it was going to require a little bit of goosing to remind everybody just how awful all this shit is. He said out loud he stole her about Virginia Giuffre, and everybody's heads went like it was just like throwing gasoline on embers. It just burst into flames again. And then the CBS News report, which I'm sure you saw, of the 10-hour video where they look through it and there's a fucking mouse moving across the screen, and there's a fucking the arm of a fucking inmate walking up about the time he'd have fucking been dead, and there's like it looks like he was made to do laundry in his fucking room. There's so many goddamn orange like outfits in there.
Yeah, right. Well, again, that's just another piece of the puzzle that raises more questions than it answers. I mean, and again, the beauty of this is that it's all self-imposed.
Yes.
Right? So Donald Trump thinking that he himself could sweep this under the rug now that he had control over Pam Bondi, now that he had control over Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. He thought he had this wrapped up with a bow on it, and he could just kind of, slowly make this fade into the background. And I think he got a little jumpy. I think he did get a little antsy when Elon started kind of hopping on this on Twitter, kind of bringing up the Epstein stuff. So I think he kind of, Elon may have made him jump the gun a little bit, and this may have been like a forced error on Elon's account there, because it's all self-imposed. I mean, this blew up in his face because he tried to make it go away so rapidly, because he tried to tell his own fan base that what they knew already existed no longer exists. What Pam Bondi said just a few weeks ago is, completely false, and she didn't mean what she said, and that's not the case anymore. And Dan Bongino and Kash Patel haven't spent years and years and years talking about how they'd get to the bottom of this if they ever had the chance to, and now all of a sudden they're talking about, oh, Epstein died, look the other way, nothing to see here. It raises a lot more questions than it gives people answers. It's been, there's so many different layers to it, and we've been doing a deep dive on the show of kind of learning more about Trump's relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell as opposed to his relationship with Epstein. Right. Because I think that might be more fruitful. I think that might be more, intriguing to me.
The
rather
Epstein
than
files
his
are the Maxwell files too.
Right. And knowing that they go back to the late 80s and, pictures of Trump with Ghislaine's father and all the parties that they frequented, and hearing Donald Trump only try to reference Ghislaine and Epstein as it relates to West Palm Beach. Right. But when in these articles and in these video clips and in these reports, they're all from New York City in the late 80s, early 90s, has nothing to do with Florida or West Palm Beach yet.
Casablancas, all that stuff. Yeah, all the modeling
agencies. I
went
went to John Casablancas modeling agency myself when I was young. I went to a John Casablancas modeling school in Newton, Massachusetts.
You know what?
Luckily,
it finally
he
makes
wasn't
sense
there at the time.
You know what? It makes sense. I don't think you would have been his type, although you are very pretty. It's all starting to make sense. You rugged, but you're this close to Marlboro Man, weren't you? But you just didn't smoke.
I was more Abercrombie and Fitch, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what they wanted
Well, that
me
was
for.
okay. So that was the thing. So Abercrombie and Fitch was the male prostitution ring, while Victoria's Secret and wanting to be a Victoria's Secret model was how they got the younger girl models, especially the Eastern European ones, who in some cases didn't even have a fucking birth certificate.
Right.
God knows what happened to those girls. Holy shit. But that was the idea, was that Les Wexner, basically had two, compromat / prostitute, high-end prostitution and compromat rings that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell ran the female side, and the dude who, got busted for Abercrombie and Fitch ran the male side.
Well, I mean, it gets even deeper because they've been playing, and it's been brought up recently again, Virginia Giuffre's interview in 2020, where she depicts Ghislaine as being the monster of the two between her and Epstein, of being the worst of the two, having done even more egregious things, even above and beyond what Jeffrey Epstein did. So that's why it seems to be it's more intriguing, not only the connection that we see now between the Trump administration, Ghislaine Maxwell now, and the possible pardon or commutation, but also their past relationship and just how close they seem to have been. And we're all looking at him and Epstein, and there may be more to see with him and Ghislaine on top of his relationship with Epstein and all this. So the layers that have been coming out in the stories, and we also covered that CBS investigation where they showed all the details about the footage and what was left out. And having done CapCut editing myself, I know that you can see markers, and I know if it's how you can splice together things, and if you need certain clips to be done, you can add a third one in and kind of make it almost like a full circle type of thing, so you can connect the other two clips. So I mean, it doesn't take much investigatory work. I mean, it really just takes somebody that knows what they're looking at to say, okay, that's a marker, that's a bookmark, this is 3 different clips. And if you don't know that, you can definitely tell by the fucking mouse on the screen.
And the whole I gotta say, one of the most shocking things about that, and they were very good in how they put this together. And here's how. One of my favorite things, and this drives me fucking crazy, is when right-wingers shit all over the legacy media and then use it as a source without batting a goddamn eye. So Benny Johnson has a Pool
special.
Yeah, right. Benny Johnson, I have a video I'm doing this afternoon where Benny Johnson did that. I had to stop watching it. I was like, I gotta cover this because holy shit. And he's going through the CBS thing, and you're just watching him realize as he's doing it, it's like you can't stop those gears turning. Now, a lot of these fuckers are stupid, but they're not dumb. Right. They're not incapable of processing, right, of this information. They don't have the inability to process it. They have just developed the bullshit muscle to trick themselves.
The Megyn Kellys of the world. I mean, how gross was that clip that you checked out? I mean,
Jesus Christ. That was painful. Her and fucking, what's his name, Kim, the two of them just making excuse after fucking excuse. And like I said, so there's a story in Raw Story Today, and I think Washington Post may have covered it, where, from somebody talking on CNN, was they point out that Trump has basically admitted to criminal liability in the poaching of these girls from his property because he didn't break up with the dude right after it happened or turn the guy in when he was aware of it. He did the interview saying he likes him young, over a year after, almost 2 years after Virginia Giuffre, who had only worked there for a few weeks, was stolen from him, right? And was in the process of being sex trafficked while Trump was still partying with this motherfucker. And he's got to know. There's at a certain point, he's got to be made to sit down. It's the old, what did the president know and when did he know it? In this particular case, the answers are bad. No matter what the answer is, it's worse than what you think.
Well, he makes it worse every time he opens his fucking mouth, too. Every time he gets in front of a goddamn camera. He cannot fucking stop. For a guy that is as fat as he is and as inflexible as he is, he has no problem getting his fucking foot in his mouth. It's crazy to me.
And his head up his ass at the same time. It is the most masterful contortion I've ever seen in my life.
To sit there and admit, and he freely says it out of his own mouth, that multiple employees, multiple people at Mar-a-Lago, he tries to wrap it up into one example the first time, but when he says it, he says that multiple people were coming up to him saying, hey, your best friend there, the known pedophile, he's poaching the underage girls we have working at Mar-a-Lago Spa. You might want to do something about that. And he, out of his own mouth, the only thing that we can take from it is that he either gave him a pass or did nothing about it at all. Because then, by Donald Trump's own accounts, it took another time of multiple Mar-a-Lago employees and people in his inner circle saying, hey, that pedophile you're best friends with for the last 20 years? Well, he's again taking the underage girls from the Mar-a-Lago Spa. So we might want to do something. And then he uses that as the premise and excuse, which even that's bullshit, because as you just pointed out factually, that 2 years after this all happened, he's still praising Jeffrey Epstein, still talking about how they like underage girls. So clearly that goes against everything he's been saying. But go ahead, what are you saying?
Yeah, my thing is that there's a situation that happens with this where people get hung up on an artificial detail. You're willing to make an assumption that if there's a train of thought, it goes someplace. That if the train left the station, it's on its way somewhere. And when it comes to the case of the other people that were poached from Mar-a-Lago, and I would argue kidnapped because they were underage, they were lured to another location and sexually fucking assaulted, right? So like stolen his employees. Like she was, I was looking at her. She was my, stand-in for Ivanka that I would walk by and wink at or pinch, or that kind of shit. Right. So we assume, because somebody else also said, were there other young girls or wherever? And he goes, I don't want to say, but yes. We also assume that was the straw that broke the camel's back, that at some point it was one girl or two girls or five girls or the seventh girl, and he finally says, all right, enough already. And then 2 weeks later, by the way, somebody calls the cops on him and they're going to do a raid. And also somebody tips him off at the same time, right? So again, dry snitching. Trump is guilty of dry snitching. That's I forget who said it. Somebody remind me in the chat who dropped that into the chat the first time, but I fucking love it. Dry snitching, where you tell on somebody and then you go, hey man, the cops found out what you're doing. They're on their way to your house. Like, yeah, because you called them, motherfucker. But now they think you're a friend. Basically, it's like being a CI. It's being a CI. So in this particular case, we're assuming that there was some girl, a young underage girl, that was the straw that broke the camel's back because he has a history of grabbing young girls. I am not willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on this. I would bet anything that he took one of his IT people who used to run all of his fucking cameras at that place. One of the guys who, I used to have a guy here who would have flooded the servers for me to hide all the information about the classified information, but I had to hire this dickhead who turned me in because Epstein poached him to work at the fucking island as one of his IT guys. I bet. I want to hear it all, because I'll bet you anything that the last straw was not a girl. He doesn't give a shit. The last straw was a male employee that he needed, that was, he considered like high value or difficult to replace.
Unless he started poaching girls that Donald Trump himself specifically had his eye on as well, kind of in his little harem that he thought, and kind of was, getting pissed off that Jeffrey was getting a little too close to his girls. Like, it's okay if he does it to other girls, just don't come to Mar-a-Lago and take mine. Type of thing, you know what I mean? So, but who knows? Again, the plot thickens with every story, every detail. This isn't going away anytime soon. I mean, it continues to get larger and larger and larger. I mean, we've covered multiple instances on both of our shows of, MAGA people that you would consider MAGA influencers or MAGA commentators, outright questioning the administration. It now started to actually name Donald Trump. We saw Andrew Schultz on the Flagrant podcast, literally say, once he said Obama, I knew Trump was guilty, right? So, they kind of have been doing this like 1-2 step, the moonwalk around this whole thing by getting mad at Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and not directing their ire to the guy that actually has the power and the motive and the ability to actually make this cover up a thing. So basically, when what's her name, Crocodile Face there, Laura Loomer is mad at Pam Bondi,
Jigsaw.
and Charlie Kirk is mad at Pam Bondi. Like, they're trying to get MAGAs, like if you're going to be mad in the MAGA base, they want you to direct it towards Pam Bondi because she's disposable, right? We can get rid of Pam Bondi, we could she could be fired and we could still survive. But as long as I can defend and deflect and obfuscate from Donald Trump's actual involvement in this whole thing, then we're kind of still winning. But they're losing all over the place, and it's beauteous to watch. It really is.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we all know that Trump loves him some poll numbers, and in the case of the poll numbers, he gets used to when he knows if he knows he can count on anybody for good poll numbers, it's Rasmussen, right? That he's always he can always fall back. Rasmussen's got his fucking back. They're gonna spackle and they're gonna craft their questions in such a way. That, and it'll always have a little asterisk, like, do you approve of Donald Trump's performance compared to if Chairman Mao from China ran the country? They leave that part off, and 100% of people love what Trump is doing, right? They shape their questions, around that specifically. They have started doing, I don't know how long they've been doing videos, but it seems like a relatively new thing, because it seems like they are trying to do this audience of one shit where they're yelling at him like, hey, motherfucker, pay attention, right? And so they do this fucking Rasmussen reports they do a live stream and they pump these videos out. This is from yesterday. Danger. New polling shows Trump admin is losing control of the Epstein scandal! ! Not going away. Trump needs to fix the Epstein crisis fast. This sounds like a fucking memo that they're like, nobody's taking it anymore. And this, by the way, this graph he's showing right here is the numbers of searches about Jeffrey Epstein before the memo. And then the memo! And even still, it's never dropped below the oh shit line.
I'm surprised they didn't end the title of the video with like, thank you for your attention to this matter.
This matter, yes, right.
How many views on that? Did that say 1.8 or more?
1,800. That's it.
That's crazy.
Very low.
It says they got 122,000 subscribers there.
Yes, they do. Right. You'd think they'd be able to see it, but no. And then, but they have been like effectively, I mean, here, I'll show you. Like the fact that they show, yeah. So again, Rasmussen reports. I want people to wrap your head around, like, this is the most sycophantic, Trump supporting, like this is everything Rasmussen has done up to this point has been an under the table contribution to his campaign. Like, which is why it's the only poll he brings up consistently at his rallies. Right. And most of their stuff lately, especially, has been, this is bad news, probably should fix it. Like, they're really trying. Let me show you this. This is the dude from Rasmussen. Look at the clip he is referencing to show this is important. In case you can't read that because it's small on whatever your device is, it says, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell's survivor, testified she met Donald Trump at age 14. And then the video that goes with it, warning graphic content. The best part is the warning graphic content part, right? Which even like drives it home further, which means like in case you're not, in case you're curious what we mean by met at age 14, here's the graphic fucking content to go with it. Right. Yeah. And like, again, if you and I would show that, not that big a surprise. And even, I would say, right now with like Megyn Kelly and Benny Johnson, the people who are trying to find a way to kind of straddle the fence, right, on this thing, they've been working overtime. Man, they're just jumping. Depends on how many calls they get from the White House. That's right. Because Charlie Kirk got his, and he reversed course pretty quick. Well, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I don't wait. There's no reason to talk about this. Until his Rumble fucking chat went pedo, like, and then he's like, fuck. I mean, what I meant was, I'm only going to stop, for the day. I was done for the afternoon. Like, yeah, right. That's how everybody talks. It's crazy to see how far it spread. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm just saying that's Rasmussen. That's the polling company. That's not just some random fucko or some talking head. That's like Forbes News, like Steve Forbes coming out and doing his own video on Forbes News saying Trump met one of the victims when she was 14 years old and apparently did nothing. Next to be Jesse Waters having a similar clip on fucking his show. Right. Right. Or fucking Rupert Murdoch going, hello, this is Rupert Murdoch live. Right? This is, I gotta say, like, when I saw that video yesterday, like last night, because I literally, like, that Rasmussen one shows up in my shit all the time now because I started checking it out. I almost feel like they put these videos up on YouTube just so somebody at the White House can show them to Trump. Like they got so few views, considering who they are. Right. And it's like, holy shit. And the distraction attempts are so piss poor that it's only adding fuel to the fire too. Like this, the whole Obama and Russiagate and sending Tulsi Gabbard out there to try to create some firestorm.
posting these like the files that they say says something, but then when you actually read the file, says nothing of the sort.
Right.
And you're like, well, what are you talking about? You just posted a picture of a file that says nothing about what you just referenced. So I don't know. It literally says that Russia did, try to
influence the election
themselves in our election. All it says is they did not gain direct access to the voting machines to directly change the voting.
But they tried.
On the right.
They failed. They tried and failed, and any impact they may have had didn't materially affect the vote count. That was it. That's all the conclusion they came to. Fucking hell.
And that the Republicans, in a bipartisan manner, all agreed to and signed off on. Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham was made to look like an asshole on Kristen Welker's show the other day when they played all of his clips, being like, "Well, yeah, I know that Russia did have an involvement in the 2016 election, and they were definitely to blame, and they did have to do this and did do that." And all of a sudden, he's like, "Well, I don't know now." It's like, well, come on, you're on camera the whole time speaking, right? We have the video.
So I want to show you the thumbnail on that video. I was trying to get it to load again. You know how you if you reload a video, it just goes to where the last later. And I'm like, sometimes I wish you could just go to, default to the thumbnail and over. And you can't see it for the number, but this should be indicative of something. This is the Rasmussen thumbnail. Now it's a cover up? Exclamation point, question mark. That's like something you or I would make. Honestly.
Right.
And it's the
definitely
fucking,
a left-wing
it's Rasmussen. Look at the laughing ghost head of Epstein laughing at Trump while he walks through some fucking statue garden. I don't know what, he's with, and then the dude down here who looks like he's a guest star on a fucking set on Love American Style, yeah, and Joey Trevino as Bingo the neighbor, right? But doink, right?
Well, it just goes to show how far this has spread and how wide the cracks have gotten in the MAGA base. This was a huge sticking point, a huge selling point for the MAGA base. They finally would have somebody at the head of the DOJ. They would finally have their all-star team at the FBI. They finally have their guy as president that can, make all this stuff happen. Like, they thought they had their fucking Harlem Globetrotter team in there.
Yeah.
That was just gonna just go in there and just with a fucking fire hose just start shooting all these files out. And they've gotten everything but, and they've been stonewalled and roadblocked at every turn. And it's catching on to these people, and it was great to see. I was lucky enough to go to the Warp Tour last week. Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys invited me backstage. Had Ellen, my girlfriend, and I backstage. It was incredible. So to see 80,000 people looking at Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump on the big screen as it's playing behind the Dropkick Murphys singing "He's a Loser, He's a First Class Loser" was pretty special, right? Oh man! And then on top of that, I got to meet Michael Fanone. American former January 6th Capitol Police officer there. Was just I was a little starstruck. I was a little slow to recognize, but I knew right off the bat that he was special, and then I knew him. I just couldn't place it because I was backstage at a concert.
Well,
I just wasn't.
It's called a scotoma, and it happens when you don't expect to see something, and your brain automatically edits it out. Your brain goes, "That can't be somebody." Yeah. So it's a. I've mentioned this before, but Jack Nicholson famously said, when you're famous as he is, you can go anywhere you want. You just can't stop. You can walk. He can walk through any mall in America, but if he sits there and goes, "Where's the goddamn food court?" the whole place would go, "Holy shit, it's Jack Nicholson." But if he just kept walking, your brain won't allow you to go, "That's Jack Nicholson that's not Jack Nicholson in a mall in Rowan, Ohio." That's not possible. So your brain literally makes him invisible to your eyes. When you lose your keys and you're like, "Where the fuck are my keys?" and somebody walks over and goes, "They're right here," and they've been right in front of you.
Right.
That's a scotoma. They're not where they're supposed to be, so they can't be right in front of your face. Your brain will literally do this. It's almost like all the Epstein years that Trump had for all these the people, they just fucking can't see it until they do. There's it's an apocryphal story about the native who was standing on the beach when Columbus's ships arrived, and they couldn't see the ships because their brains couldn't wrap their head around a giant floating anything that big that had people in it. So all they saw was water and clouds. They just couldn't see the fucking boat. Right. And then my
brain did everything but Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
One of their shamans stood out there on the beach and just stared, and he started recognizing ripples in the water, and then he started going, I've seen a big fish that was a whale, and then he was like, oh my God, what the fuck is that thing? And he suddenly realized, and he went back and told him, they have this thing made out of wood. It's like a canoe, but it's fucking huge. Come here. And everybody went, oh yeah, I see it now. The big fucking canoe, right?
That was crazy.
Right. So that happens when you meet people. It will always happen. I have it happen.
I thought he was in a band, like, because we were backstage, so they had like the trailer.
It looks like one. It looks like it would be.
The name of the band. So I'm like, all right, what band is he in? And then my brain, because he was wearing a fisherman shirt from like a fisherman that he knew, I'm like, okay, is he on Deadliest Catch? Like, I'm actually thinking this in my brain. I'm like, do I know him from? Is he a crab captain? I'm like, where the fuck do I know this guy from? And then my girlfriend Mel was like, she went up and shook her. She knew right away, and she was like, oh, it's an honor and a pleasure to meet you. And then in my head, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I fucked this one up. I'm like, I should know this. Just by the way she said hello and the honor and respect we had for him, I was like, shit. But then once it came to me, I was like, you son of a bitch.
So good. I want to show you one more Rasmussen thing, and then we'll move on to the other part of this. But so this is a month ago. 1 month ago, Trump dominates insane leftist pump something or whatever. Explosive numbers. Look at the picture. Look at the fucking fireworks. Look at them. Like this whole fucking, still the whole like, and Joey Schizarino as Bingo in the corner still. But, and then it's on, baby.
How it started to how it's going.
Yes, totally.
You should
how it started.
You should make a meme with this to how it's going.
Yeah, how it started, how it's going. Trump plunges.
Right.
As far as I know, that's the first appearance of the ghost head of the laughing Jeffrey Epstein that Rasmussen put in there.
That's actually going to be a feature in the new ballroom at the White House, which would be ultimately the perfect spot to ultimately unveil all of the Epstein files. I mean, we could just name it the Donald Trump, the official Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, pedophilia and sex trafficking ballroom, and we could make that where we release all the files. How about
I think you're right, though. I think we should just call it the Epstein Ballroom and go, when does the Epstein Ballroom open up? I know he's calling it the Epstein Ballroom or whatever, and I think what a curious name to call it the Epstein Ballroom, #Epstein Ballroom. And, I know that's apparently when Epstein met with Clinton in the first year of his presidency. And then didn't come anymore. I guess was shown the door by somebody around Clinton, even if it wasn't Clinton himself. Was there for a remodel, right? He was going to gather money, like kind of one of these people who wanted to throw money in for somebody's inauguration. Was the story that I had heard was why he was allegedly there, was he was going to help with, arrange for big donors to pay for a remodel of part of the White House. Maybe part of it was digging up the yard and hiding his compromat at what safer environment is there than the grounds of the White House. And so Trump just wants to build this ballroom so he can dig up the ground where these like crates of compromat are. But and replace it with
honestly, if I find out that he's actually spending $1 of his own fucking money in reality, like if he's actually coming out of pocket $1, which I don't believe he is, he says,
"Oh fuck out of here."
They're trying, but I'm saying they're trying to report that it's donors and Donald Trump. But if it actually comes out that he has spent even $1 on this of his own money, he's definitely burying some shit there.
Yes,
ain't no
absolutely.
Goddamn way. Ain't no goddamn way he'd pay for a single fucking cent for this fucking remodel if he didn't have some shit to hide there.
Fucking, we need some goddamn cadaver dogs walking all over that cement on every layer that they put down.
It's crazy. It really is. I mean, what is it? What they say, $200 million or something like that? Like that's with all the shit going on right now. Right. I mean, and then I know it's another just something else to talk about to get the Epstein thing out of the news, probably. But I mean, just above and beyond that whole thing, which I know is really tough to swallow and put aside. Right. But even in these times, if we were in normal political times with everything going on, the humanitarian aid disaster in Gaza, the people starving to death, Vladimir Putin spitting in our president's face night after night, continuing to lob missiles and drones into Ukraine, killing people on a daily basis. What's going on in Thailand, Cambodia. I mean, pick a spot around the world where there's conflict or famine or in anywhere in Africa or, the number of problems that we should be focusing on right now, like serious real life issues. I mean, that doesn't even take into account the millions of people that are about to be stripped of their health care in this country, what ICE is doing in this country. I mean, the list goes on of important things that are just literally getting worse by the day because this guy is focused on nothing other than himself, focused on like fake trade deals, tariffs that don't exist, putting deadlines and pauses on Russia. I mean, he gave them a 50-day pause. Get this, guys. Do this math. Get your fucking abacus out for this motherfucker.
Your Trump calculator.
He gave them a 50-day pause on top of the 2-week pause that he had given them 4 weeks ago. But now after the 50-day pause, 4 weeks after the 2-week deadline, he's now going to give them a 10 to 12-day deadline, and that may or not be the deadline. That may or not just be the day that he comes out with the deadline. Right. And meanwhile, Ukrainians are dying every single fucking night. So tell me how that maths and what we're talking about here.
Well, I mean, I think the initial thing with the 50 days was they heard from Putin via Lavrov and whether it was through Witkoff or somebody that, look, we can fuck these guys up in 60 days. You give us till the end of the summer and we'll win this thing. And then they won't even be able to, like, the Ukrainians are screwed. And 10 days after that, he announces his 50-day, period that he's going to give them to get their act together or whatever the fuck. Well, clearly he's been had, and now the issue I think he has is that it's becoming evident to everyone around them that this was never going to be a deal, that they can't win it. Not only are they going to fail at this shit, not only are these motherfuckers, not only are the Russians not going to honor any of this stuff, but they couldn't win it in 60 days like they told him. Like they left him holding the bag. Like, I could totally nail this if you just give me the time. How much time you need? I need 60 days. 10 days later, he announces the 50-day pause. And then no matter, even with the bombing, they're still getting their ass handed to them. They're still getting sites. They got so many of their sites inside the country knocked down because of the drone attack, and because of Operation Spiderweb and all this other stuff, that they don't have the ability to do it. They were bullshitting them about their ability to succeed in this circumstance. They just thought it would include, like, when they told him we need 60 days, he'll stop giving shit to Ukraine in that period of time. Well, the Europeans had already stepped up, right? And he had rescinded Hegseth's unlawful order to remove, to stop sending gear to Ukraine. And so they still had the ability to fight. I think they thought he was going to, that pause would also mean, okay, leave us alone for 60 days and stop giving them shit and we'll finish it. And I just think he couldn't because of Biden's budget.
So let me ask you then, why the switch now in the 50-day now? Like, why the sudden switch in what he just announced was going to be the 50-day pause? Like, why do you think there's this role reversal all of a sudden saying, okay, now instead of 50 days, I'm going to come out in 10 to 12 days, and that's either going to be the new deadline? It wasn't clear to me when he said it. It's been reported that the new deadline is in 10 to 12 days, but when I heard him say it, it wasn't clear to me. It sounded to me like in 10 to 12 days he was going to announce another deadline, but maybe I misheard or misinterpreted what saying.
Well, the problem is with the tariffs, that's how it's been the entire time. So in this, in the discussion of the tariffs, that's what happens over and over and over again. Is he keeps fucking. He did it again. He punted on Mexico. The India ones went into place last night, but they're for I don't know, fucking Indian cattle meat. Like no more steaks from India. Like, what? Like, it's all for shit that doesn't matter. Anything that does matter is exempt. So they're like, see, the tariffs didn't hurt anything. It's like, because this almost includes fucking nothing. Right. So I think with this one, I think the difference is there is a huge, it is, first of all, in the realm of 60-40, 70-30 issues, the American people are still behind Ukraine and recognize Putin as a threat, recognize the Russians as awful, and even the ones who want to forgive them, the Tucker followers and this stuff, are at least coming around to, whether Tucker likes it or not, to the fact that Russia invaded. They weren't pushed to do it. Like, they weren't scared and responded. I just started punching because I was afraid for my life, Your Honor. It's just horseshit. And they know that, even if they don't want to admit it. And So it's in the Republican Party, it's a 60-40. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not popular enough to carry this issue. She just isn't. And the people that are the people that have power, and that's the fucking senators. And Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about House representation except having the votes to get shit through. He doesn't give a fuck about red districts. He doesn't give a fuck what they want or care about. So if Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't want something, but Thune and Lindsey Graham and all these people who can get elected and have all these powerful interests supporting them in states because senators are where the big money is, and that's where golf courses go and vacation hotels and shit after your presidency go, that's what he's concerned with. So I think he turned around on those guys going, he's making you look like an asshole, boss, and he's dangerous. And after you outlive your usefulness, unless you get rid of this motherfucker, he's going to have you killed or kill somebody in your family because he's going to make a point of it. You got to knock him off. And eventually it caught up with him, I think. I think that's where it is right now.
I honestly, you could very well be right, and obviously, clear speculation on my part here, but I think he literally could just be as simplistic as he just made up that 50-day number, like clear on the spot, maybe out of anxiousness, maybe he was, nervous and just kind of that's what came to his head. And then behind the scenes, somebody and, maybe a couple of people that actually do know a little bit more about the situation are like, well, you do know that you just gave the Russians the entire summer offensive, right? You just allowed them.
No, there was I'm noting a specific thing that happened, and I'd have to go look up the news story on it. But it was like Putin in one of his addresses, and I think Medvedev or Solovyev in their kind of conversations afterwards, said that if the U.S. would just stand down, we could wipe them out in 60 days, 2 months.
Right. And I think he said that on Telegram as well, I believe.
Yes, they said that. And then that conversation was happening while Witkoff was there as well, at that exact same time. So it sounds like they were saying on the air what they were saying in private. And then, like I said, 10 days after they were mentioning that 60-day window, Trump gives them 50 days. After basically giving them that 10 days by not doing fuck all. By either focusing on or not focusing on Gaza and shit.
That I'm with you on all of that, which just confuses me as to why he would then reverse again, not giving them the 50 days, and then all of a sudden now coming out and being
because they're going to lose
a few days
because it's not working.
But that's
they can't win.
That's been evident anyway.
Right, but
I mean, I don't know if it's ego based because
watching him wake up to it though
the whole time, right? Vladimir Putin's been spitting in his face the whole time. This is the guy that said he can end it 24 hours after being elected, not after being put in office. After being elected, after it was announced he had won the presidency, that's after 24 hours after that he would have this ended, right? So I mean, just think of everything that's happened since that moment up until now. So I have a hard time believing it's just like straight
that
ego of him being like,
Right.
I keep giving them these things, and then I go to my house and I see that Kiev was bombed again, and I think that's crazy. Like I agree.
I think that's PR. I think that's PR. I think that's him giving himself an out.
Right.
To stop doing he doesn't give a shit about the people that are being attacked. This has always happened. Because if he believed that at all, he would have come in and gone, oh my God, what they did in Bucha, they would love to do the rest of the country. Fuck these guys and fuck Vladimir Putin, and this has got to stop. And he would talk the same way Dems do, which is where eventually, by the way, anytime a Republican starts to actually having to do their job, either because their constituents make them or the ramifications of their policies slap them in the fucking face, they all start talking like Democrats. That's why he's shitting on Josh Hawley right now for being against the Medicare and Medicaid cuts and the bill to stop people in the Senate and the House from holding stocks, right? So like that once they get to the point where like, oh fuck, we got to actually do something, they all start sounding like Democrats because there's only so many solutions to a lot of these things. There's not like 9 different ways a solution can go. It's not that it's always binary. And that's the thing about politics. There's maybe 3 or 4 paths, but you got to work it out. And most of the time, it's a bit of a buffet. It's like, this part will solve this problem, this part will solve this problem, and you put it together. And that's basically what's happened. If you look at what Biden did with Ukraine, there was the Lend-Lease, there was direct financial support, and then there was, like ammo and artillery that we could give them that we already have in stock and that we're building up all the time, and it's part of our military budget to rotate that stuff. And we'll just not do certain training exercises that we're not going to need anytime soon, and we'll just give them that. And then our guys will go train with NATO, and they'll get that same training in that window. Is what they did. We can give them these artillery shells because they'll practice with the NATO shit later, next year, whatever. So I think ultimately, I do think that 50-day window was somebody else whispering in his ear, Witkoff or one of those guys saying, we can give them till August, the 15th of August from now. That's what they're asking for. And if we could just not pressure them until then. And then about 2 weeks ago, they have not made any progress. They have just been killing civilians. And that's what's in the news. So it's embarrassing to him, and Russia is failing. And I have to say, I think there's still this number, even though it kind of came and went, that number right there, the over 1 million casualty number, that has got to be, because Trump talks about 5,000 a week, 7,000 a week, and that kind of shit. But the reason he
focuses heavily on Russians, and I'll let you get right back to that.
Yes.
But you're 100% right. But when he talks about the deaths in this, he'll say Russians 5
Beautiful
times,
Russians.
And then at the end of that, he'll say Ukrainian and Russians. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you can tell what he's like. The numbers that he's getting, the numbers that
That's
he's
right.
seeing are more along the Russian side. And he's, so go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you're 100% right.
Exactly right. And I think this number. One of the reasons he talks about 5,000 a week or 7,000 a week or whatever it was, that he's been kind of bouncing back, which has been the number for a long fucking time. It's been like, you and I've talked about this, like the ebb and flows between 900 and 2,000 a fucking day. Like
he just recently even started getting close to that number, because he was saying 5,000 like a month, and it was literally 5,000 every few days.
Yeah, right. It was like 4 days, it guaranteed on the regular, on the average. I mean, it's 920 just in the last night. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just fucking stupid. But it's over 1 million. And at this point, he may even be saying, 7,000 when it's 8,000, because he doesn't give a shit about the North Koreans that are dying, or the fucking Kazakhstanis, or the, Uzbekis that they round up and force to fight.
Any of the Foreign Legion fighters that are over there from any number of countries, right?
Right. So, but 1,049,000, like they are at the point where they're 1 million over. They're almost to the point in 2 days. They'll be 1 million over our losses in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. 1 million more for fucking what? And again, I don't know how else to put this, but for land they could have rented. I'm like, for real. Like they
work together in a partnership to gain benefit.
Yeah, it would have resulted in a population boom. They'd have had 3 million more kids during that period of time as people moved over and worked together, and the insistence on owning it cost them 1 million fucking people more than the U.S. lost in Vietnam. And Vietnam is the shit standard for a fuck up waste of life in a battle zone, right? By most Americans' view of things.
Well, yeah, when you risk and you lose 2,000 men to take a hill over a week's time, and then you hold that hill for a single night, only to retreat from that hill the next day, only to have the occupying force then retake that hill. Like, that's why my studies of World War II, I'll go back to World War I. I even go back, further than that. But I start losing it, after Korea. After Korea, the Korean War, it gets to me, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. People aren't wearing uniforms anymore. You don't know whose side is on whose side. People are getting we're losing 1,200 men in a night or over a week or in a few days to take a hill, only to give that hill back to the enemy. That makes absolutely no strategic or military sense to me. So doing things like that, I tend to lose it. And then even further in Iraq and Afghanistan, where they blend into the population so well. In 1 second they could have an AK in the hand, the next minute they're in the market and you don't know who's who. You know what I mean? Right. So it's World War II, at least, for the most part, people had uniforms. You could tell what group they were in, if they were a tanker, if they were a parachutist, if they, infantry, whatever. It was pretty much your side, my side. There was obviously the the odd act of spying and not being in uniform, obviously. But for the most part, it was understandable who you're fighting against and what you're fighting for. And it tends to get a little more blurred as we get up to Vietnam. And this is even more like you just said. This is even on a level exponentially worse than anything Vietnam could produce. Right, for less too.
Holy shit! Right. For and again. There's a lot about the Vietnam War that is buried in public perception. That is, our mythology about it, and the failures and the successes in certain areas are muddled and thrown together in news cuts and stuff. And I would argue that the heroism of Hugh Thompson at My Lai is completely buried in what C Company did, and I feel like, if you're talking about what the standard should be in the fog of war, when you're talking about like who's on whose team, people are in uniforms and then they're not. One guy has a gun and they're people, little kids are walking up to you with grenades hidden in shoeboxes and shit like that. Like you're dealing in that situation, and so it's not surprising you get something like C Company going nuts and slaughtering people at My Lai in that circumstance. Happens in all war zones. It's happening right now in Sudan. It's happening right now. In mass, Darfur and Kar and like multiple African nations, right? That's not the surprising part. The surprising part is when somebody ends it, right? And in the case of Hugh Thompson, landing his fucking helicopter between U.S. soldiers and civilians and telling his own guys, if they move towards us, if our own soldiers move on us, kill them. They are killing civilians, and if they step across that line, I've already announced them. I radioed them. If they start coming this way, they're civilians behind us. If they try to kill anybody, we're opening fire on our own troops. Hugh Thompson did that. And I feel like you can recognize the horror of Vietnam and the wrong there by celebrating the Hugh Thompsons of the world in the same way that John Kerry said, what do you say to the last man who dies for a lie? That quote, I'm blitzing on the exact wording of it, right? Him doing that was heroic. That was a heroic statement to make. But Hugh Thompson, that's an order of magnitude, right? In this case, and I think we can all agree on that. Like we can agree on like the atrociousness of the circumstance and the villainy and heroism that comes around it.
Any number of the French or German citizens that helped get Jews or children or Poles or Czechs or whoever out of the country and through some rat line or risking their own life and their families' lives to try to help the people like that. It's similar to that type of stuff, heroism and risking your life. And
there's a let's see if I can find it for you. There is a guy named Charles Coward. Do you know who Charles Coward is? You're a World War II guy or whatever.
I've heard the name.
Hogan's Heroes is based on him. He's a real dude. Okay. They made a movie called The Password is Courage, and The Great Escape is sort of lifted from it as well. But Charles Coward was he escaped several times from a prisoner of war camp. He would sneak out and bring stuff back. At the end of the war, when the Allies were coming, he was in a concentration camp, and there was a Jewish work camp next to them. And they had killed a bunch of people, and they were trying to finish them all off. And he had escaped. And he got out, and they said, the Allies are coming. And the word was that the Germans were burning all the evidence. They were burning all these bodies that they had piled everywhere to try and get rid of, because they knew the Allies were coming, and they wanted to hide all the evidence of what had happened. And so instead of escaping, which he could have done, he strapped dynamite to his legs, which is partly where the bit in Inglourious Bastards comes from. He strapped dynamites to his leg and let himself be captured again.
Sounds like Steve McQueen. Sounds like Steve McQueen's character in The Great Escape was.
That's what it was.
Based off of
yes,
this,
it was.
Right.
It was based on a real guy, a real man, and his last name was Coward, John Coward. And
because in the movie he has to go out, write a map of where they are on the outside so they know where they're going once they escape, and he has to literally get caught again, let himself get caught again and brought back in, spend time in the pokey there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they throw him in the brig for 30 days or 60 days or whatever the hell it was.
Well, in this case, they didn't have time to throw him in the stockade because they were using it to hold Jewish prisoners and kill them. And they put him on a work detail. They put all the soldiers on a work detail because they had to keep them alive and they had to keep them fed, so they were the most healthy workers. So they forced all these guys to work, right? And so the amazing part is he took the dynamite that he snuck in and he blew up the ovens so that they couldn't get rid of the evidence of the dead. So the bodies just piled up and they couldn't hide their crimes. He let himself be recaptured with dynamite strapped to his fucking legs just so he could keep them from getting away with it. Not even just because he couldn't stop it, but he could stop them from getting away with it.
Right. That's crazy.
He was apparently very funny and a pain in the ass. And that's where the Hogan's Hero stuff came from, is that he would joke right in their face, but the Germans had no sense of humor. And the Irish and he's English, the Irish soldiers would just, they'd get in trouble for laughing and get like a rifle butt to the forehead because they were laughing so hard at Coward taking the piss out of the Germans to their face.
Well, I can tell you, having just a few weeks ago being stood directly in front of the gas chambers in the ovens at Dachau concentration camp, literally within arm's length, I can tell you that, it's heroism like that, and it's trips that go back to Dachau that remind you of the horrors. And remind you of the heroism that went along with the horrors and some of the people that, were there trying to help as many as they could and risk their lives and their families' lives to try to get 3 or 4 people out, or whether it was 3 or 4 or 300 or 400 people out. You know what I mean? And, I know we're a little over, but just to corroborate what you were talking about, Russia being able to literally either rent or partner with Ukraine for the territory that they now have lost over 1 million men to gain. Again, having been in Ukraine just a short time ago, having seen their defense contractors and the ingenuity and the genius that is in that country, seeing the incredible kind nature of these people, the resilience and the determination of the Ukrainian people, their willingness to help. Not only that, but the fact that Russia really struggles with getting their population food. So the breadbasket of the world, which Ukraine may have been probably better suited to partner with to get food to their population that is starving outside of the major cities in Russia, as opposed to losing 1 million of their youngest and finest generation, if you want to call it that, to gain absolutely nothing and actually reversed course on the world stage and dig their hole even deeper. So you're 100% right that the way they went about this was ridiculous. And you can actually, funny enough, bring up a clip of Vladimir Solyevov, which I know we both love looking at, before the war started, talking about how crazy and ridiculous it would be for Russia to even contemplate going to war with their neighbor Ukraine. And now look at what he's calling out. The guy that talks about nuclear weapons, the guy that talks about dropping nuclear bombs more than anybody on earth right now, Vladimir Solyevov, was once the guy saying how ridiculous and crazy and stupid war would be to go to war with Ukraine.
So also, I think there are a couple of turning points lately that I think may have affected that decision that we were talking about, and I'll let you go on it. And thanks for being on, man. I'd love to have you on whenever, and certainly on the radio show if you pop on as well. I know sometimes Phil needs to rotate out because he's currently being bombed and finding it hard to sleep or whatever. And I think you and I both, along with Phil, really care a lot about the Ukraine issue and like talking about it. I think it's important that we not let it go until it's in the rearview mirror. But in Sumy right now in Ukraine, the naval marines, the Russian naval marines, have been cut off from supplies and can't make it back to escape or whatever. They're just fucking surrounded, which is like, and I think that news came out like 2 days ago or something, and I'm sure that's us learning about it. So they knew that the rumblings of it were a problem even before that, because they shouldn't have been even sent in to into sue me anyways. And then in the same window, whoever's talking to whoever, all this stuff about India and tariffs and blah, blah, blah. But India stopped receiving Russian crude shipments. Even after they said, this is about our sovereignty, they still cut them off yesterday. They started cutting them off. And then the earthquake. So I don't know that the earthquake had any play in
it
that.
Says, I was just looking at a Daily Beast article from 3 hours ago. It says, tsunami damages Putin's nuclear submarine base in the Pacific.
Yeah. Oh, and Trump just sent nuclear submarines near Russia. On Friday, Trump ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in regions near Russia in response to threats from Medvedev. As it's posturing against what Medvedev said, and that motherfucker doesn't even.
Tweets.
Yeah, because that motherfucker's not even in the government.
Right. Well, he's been coming out saying he's the one that's been coming out on Telegram telling Donald Trump, like, do whatever you need to do. Like, we've been living under sanctions and restriction for this long. Like, what the fuck, what are you going to do now? Like, even after the 50-day pause. And then Donald Trump, I think, responded to him on Truth Social. And then, what's better than, what's the next level up from a Truth Social post, I guess, is sending nuclear submarines.
Right. Yeah. The social media wars. That's how fucking pathetic. And that it's run by boomers is even weirder. Like, I'd almost get it if 10, 15, 20 years from now we get the first Instagram model president, where they grew up on zero privacy and flame wars and shit like that, right? But fucking Trump, this pudding brained old fuck is beefing. He's fucking beefing like a fucking gangbanger.
And what's crazy too is, I don't know if you've heard any, if you want 2 clips to really piss you off that you could watch on the show, one is pick any one of Chris Cuomo's recent videos that he's been putting out, where he gives Donald Trump an A for effort in this presidency so far. And then another one is Clay Higgins, Rep. Clay Higgins, on the floor or in a committee saying that they don't know what a solution to the the Russian invasion of Ukraine would be. Like, I've never been more frustrated and pissed off in my life, where you just don't say, hey, drop your weapons, get out of your tanks, and walk to the nearest Russian border. That's the solution. Like, it doesn't take much. But for him to say that the whole committee there has put their heads together, has been struggling and rustling together, trying to figure up ideas, and can't come up with what the solution would be to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, just pissed me off beyond measure. And again, I want to apologize. Sorry it took me so long to get back on here after the move. Things have been hectic. I apologize.
By the way, I think I figured out why Chris Cuomo is giving why he's giving him a pass on the Epstein stuff.
Wouldn't that be the time to further distance yourself from it, though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the oddest time for anybody to be flowing towards Donald Trump, as far as some people that haven't been, considered a MAGA person or, a Republican. It's like, now is the most awkward time, like the most ridiculous time I could possibly think of, to be like, you know what? Now's the time. I think I'm going to announce my love for Trump.
Right.
Now? Like, now are you going to do that? What the fuck? What?
Yeah, how much crypto? How much money do you have invested in Trump crypto, and you need to boost it the fuck up so you can bail out? Because that's a bunch of these too. Like, he's totally innocent. You motherfuckers, sell. Like, that's what's happening too.
He does the whole North Korea thing where he's like, oh, he's on it 7 days a week, 365. The man's always, I give an A for effort. The man's doing this. He was on with some podcast. I covered it on the show the other day, and I was like, I can't even believe what I'm hearing here. But I'll end on a good note. It seems like since this Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein saga broke at the behest and at the direction of Donald Trump himself, it seems like he has aged more in the last few weeks since this story broke than he did in his entirety of his first term. Okay?
Yes.
Which is another thing that Chris Cuomo tries to lick Trump's boots on, saying, look how good he looks. Doesn't look like any of the stress is getting to him. Well, that's because he doesn't give a shit about the job. But the thing that is stressing about now, this Epstein thing, is definitely getting to his fucking health. Definitely taking him down faster. So we'll end on that good note.
And the seriousness of it is, it points to that he is taking it personally, because he knows that where people are like, if he would just release the truth, he could get it behind him. No, he can't. Whatever's in there is worse than whatever beating he could take by not releasing it. No matter what these fuckers say about him, like this, but he's protecting pedophiles. He knows they won't let themselves go where he went. And if he showed them everything, they'd be like, oh, he's a fuck, throw him in jail now. Case fucking closed. And they'd never vote for a Republican again. And that's why he won't. That's why he's got to hide it.
The more we learn, the more these are actually turning into the Donald Trump files with a side helping of Jeffrey Epstein. Really. It's like we're finding out that Donald Trump may have even more involvement in this whole thing than we even possibly imagined to begin with, because the extent of the government conspiracy, the active government cover-up going on right now, perpetrated by the Trump regime, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino, is literally almost too, like, it's too blatant. Like, it's even riling up their own base. Like, that's how blatantly, obviously bullshit this whole thing is. You know what I mean? But I appreciate you having me on. If I can, just a second, catch me on my new times. Anybody that's, any new sparklers that have come, congratulations on all your new subscribers and your success on your show, my man. It's very happy to see you guys growing this channel. I think you should have at least 200,000 more, if you ask me.
I agree.
That's just what I say. But, any of the sparklers in there that want to check out Blunt Politics, you like what you're hearing, you like what you're seeing, I would appreciate it. We do our Sunday shows and our Wednesday night shows are kind of the regular shows, but we also added a Tuesday day show and a Thursday day show, kind of based on Hal's schedule, where he doesn't have the morning show. So I try to kind of fill in where he's not. I don't want to be stepping on anybody's toes. I literally based my entire schedule around everybody's show, so I don't step and overstep and stuff. So anybody that wants to check it out, I would very much appreciate it. We're on our way to 15,000 subscribers, so it's a slow roll, but we're getting there, buddy.
Hey man, that's what organic growth looks like, and it sticks. It's way better than these like assholes with like 2 million subscribers and 8,000 views. And you're like, I get 8,000 views.
All these fucking real people, Yeah, we got to deal with all these real, actual humans,
Actual human beings, I know. All right, you're awesome, brother. Thank you so much. I'll see you later on.
Guys.
All right.
Appreciate it, bud. Stay safe.
Thank you. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Boston Brian, who is awesome. I'll see you guys this afternoon. Now I've got a bunch of stuff to watch. Oh, my Lord. And chat room, whoops, where the hell did that go? Oh, I see. I'm on the wrong chat. There we go. Sorry, wrong button. There you are. Hi. The jobs report today, I hope Maria Bartiromo was able to be on when that came out. There's like certain news stories that I know are coming, and I'm like, please let them react to it before my show, so I don't have to wait 24 hours to get a clip of them doing this. And yes, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much for that, for the Venmo. Really appreciate it. Anyways, there's a bunch. So I will see you guys this afternoon. Have a fantastic day. The 340 power laser. Solar's the way to go. I don't know what to tell you. Ours is locked in solar panels. That's the thing, man. I'm just saying. Yes, the Dow's down. It's Trump's. It takes about 6 to 8 months for anybody's policies as president to start kicking in. And since Trump did all this shit so like viciously right out of the gate, it's happening sooner. And it's not going to get better. Sorry. It's going to be a fucking bumpy ride. But I'm going to do my best to keep you guys laughing and alive during this. Hey, if a lot of us made it as kids through the 70s and 80s, we'll make it through this too. We just got to make sure that other people make it through. If we can help at all, then that's where we pick it up. And hopefully, I'll see some of you guys at the next march and all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, much love. I will see you later. My good, yeah. This goes out to Boston Brian. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I love you guys. I will see you guys this afternoon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Hit that like, share the show if you would. Thank you. And go subscribe to Boston Brian's show. Thank you, Proud Vet. Thank you, Georgia. Blues Lovin', thank you. Melissa, Laura, thank you. GK, Anne-Marie, Angel Fitch, thank you. Carl, thank you. Molly, thank you. Luis, thank you. Unfortunate Altar Board, JD Christie, Iris Taz, Utah Raptor, thank you. Pontifex, David Jenkins, Meow Meow, thank you. QH Show Live, thank you. Dancing Dog, thank you. Ali Osher, CSL, we love you. Andrea, we love you. Carl, thank you. John, thank you. JD Christie, thank you. Walter, thank you. Jennifer, Zarek, thank you so much. Have a great day, you guys. Throw somebody out there in the media sphere or into your feed or something. Throw them a smile. If there's somebody you like on your socials, just go, I just want you to know I think you're doing a great job. Just throw that their way today. That'd be great. You can say that to me, but you can say it to, do it to other people. I know a bunch of you are going to jump on and say it to me too, and I love that. But, yeah. Thanks, Josh.